All right, so we are once again doing a Renegade Throws Coach podcast. It's Matt Ellis from EliteThrowsCoaching.com here with Dane Miller from GarageStrength.com. We haven't done one of these in about a month
Yeah.
due to Christmas, New Year's, me being sick for 2 weeks, and actually even now not having too much of a voice. So we got a lot to talk about, man. You were at what? The Olympic Training Center?
Yeah, I was there for 8 days.
Very cool. Now, which
Yeah.
were you out in Colorado?
Colorado Springs, yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's
How'd that all come about?
um so in weightlifting they rank coaches based off of their athletes.
Okay.
And so they have like an athlete ranking for youth and for juniors, and then based off of, how many athletes each coach will have, they get invited based off the rankings. The top six guys get invited to come out to the training center, all expenses paid, everything.
Nice.
So I had three athletes on the rankings in like the top five, and one of the girl didn't go, but two of my guys went. This is the second year. I went last year was the first year I went.
Yeah, I remember seeing you going last year. So.
Yeah, and then this was the second year. This camp, it was freaking awesome. It was just like the whole time, people like, it's cool seeing. It's a youth and junior camp, so it was cool seeing 14 to 20-year-olds
Yeah.
for 8 days training like they're super elite athletes, no fucking around.
It's awesome.
Here and there they're having fun, but it was really intense. We learned a lot, learned some technical cues, and it's cool too talking to them, because I can see to the weightlifting community, and I can talk to them about throwing and see, what would you think would be good lifts that could apply to throws and stuff like that. So it was really fun.
Very cool. Yeah, it's good, man. So, did you drive out there? Or did you fly?
I drove.
Fuck. Dude, people who will watch this in Rhode Island are like their minds are gonna be blown. Like
It
that
was
would be
it was
like
20.
that would be like if we drove to like the Panama Canal. Like it would be or like Alaska. Like what you did is the equivalent of someone from Rhode Island driving to Alaska. Uh, how long of a trip was it out there?
It ended up being 22 hours both ways.
Oh,
It was it,
Jesus.
it was supposed to be 24, but when you get out into like Missouri and Kansas,
Yeah,
you can go like 80, 85 the whole way.
yeah.
Like no questions asked.
You knock a lot of time off that.
Yeah, on a trip that long, yeah, it pays off to go an extra 10 miles an hour.
There you go. Don't incriminate yourself. We don't want anything to happen.
Yeah.
So let me tell you this fucking story. All right. So from time to time, I do these like rant videos where I just go on YouTube, and I haven't done one in a long time. But because these rants, and it's usually rants against coaches or
Yeah.
training methods or things like that, people will send in emails. People will send in or leave comments being like, "Listen to what we had to do today." So this thrower gets in touch with me, and you'll never believe this. It's one of those things where you just have to shake your head and say, "What the hell are these people thinking?" Okay, so you have to picture what he was saying was that his school, there's a first floor and a second floor. So two long hallways.
Right.
So
Okay.
in order to get up to the second floor, it's 20 stairs. And in order to get down, obviously it's 20 stairs.
Right.
So what they had to do, this is their entire day. This is just throwers. So it's not like the entire team did this, just throwers. They had to go 20 stairs up, okay, 20 stairs over. 20 stairs up, run down the hallway, 20,
Long hallway.
20 stairs down, run down the hallway again, and do that 20 times.
And cause as many stress fractures
Oh,
and
yeah.
back pain and
So when you do the math, that's 400 stairs up and 400 stairs down.
yeah. Well, and
Fuck.
what's fucked up with that is those same coaches, then they'll have them do some technical drill, and I don't get why you can't pick up this drill.
Yeah,
Dude, you
exactly.
just had them run 3 miles of steps.
I know. Imagine that. Just see that giant uphill that goes for 3 miles. Those big stairs. Run up that. That's your practice for
Yeah.
today. That's your explosive athlete.
No,
Training.
that's
Let's
all.
just.
They don't know how to fill time. It's all like, well, how can I waste time and make these kids feel tired? So that's what they do.
That's it. And we see that a lot too. Like, right now we're moving to like the more, I guess you would consider the more explosive time of the season, where we've really backed off the heavy weight and we're doing a lot more lighter weight. We're doing a lot more jumping, a lot more, reactive depth jumps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hurdle hops and whatnot. And because our division championships is next weekend, and then we've got sort of our state championships a few weeks after that, and then we get screwed because New England's is 2 weeks after that. So New England's isn't for like six weeks, but our championship meet is in like 3 weeks. So we're starting to back off, and a lot of times that's what people say is, if we do like say a weighted jump, we have a dumbbell in each hand, we'll do 4 jumps. So
Right.
squat down, explode up, squat down, explode up, squat down, explode up, squat down, explode up, break.
Right.
And or we'll move on to a different movement. And people are like, well, only 4 or only 3? Why are we only doing 3? Why are we only doing 4? So
Right.
it's like it's almost like that sort of attitude of, more work,
Yeah,
more work, more work, more endurance kind of trickles down through the kids too. So
dude, to go off of that, this is another true like 100% thing that happened
all right,
at a CrossFit gym, and some CrossFit gyms I think are awesome,
right,
but some I think are trash.
yeah,
Um. Anyway, I have a friend who trains in this place. He does all strength training. The guy says to him, you're doing a lot of standing around over there. You might be able to lift a lot of weights, but you're just standing around waiting.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, except I could fucking kill you in a fight, but whatever. Right. And the guy goes, well, what we do here is we try and train guys so that their hearts explode.
Oh, nice.
Like, really?
Really?
Like,
that's your goal.
Yeah, that's your goal. So it's like, and he's training athletes. Like, he's getting athletes in there, and it's like,
yeah, it drives me nuts.
People fucking listen, and they listen to him. Holy shit!
It drives me nuts. I know, and it's you wonder why. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know either. The fucking results are just results should speak for themselves. You know what I mean? So, I think a lot of times people see an explosive athlete, and even when you look at like the weightlifting community, the CrossFit community that has weightlifting as part of their kind of CrossFit workouts. You look at how they're built, especially some of the lighter weight weightlifters,
right?
And you're like, wow, that really, that CrossFit girl who's really, really cut, really, really defined, is clean and jerking 175 pounds.
Right.
So she must be doing something right. If I'm an athlete, I want to be lean. I want to be, able to clean more than my body weight and jerk more than my body weight. But it's like, you're only getting maybe half the story there. You're looking at how they look on the outside. You're not looking at how they would perform, compared to the top level people.
They say Lauren Fisher's in the CrossFit Games.
Right.
So she does CrossFit. But Lauren Fisher is a weightlifter.
Yep.
Who when she's not trying to peak, she does powerlifting and bodybuilding movements that help her with her CrossFit and with her weightlifting. Like, she's not training doing full blast all aerobic cardio. She's doing her cardio that she does do is all anaerobic cardio.
Right.
But nobody freaking gets that shit.
No, and it's you said it in one of the original podcasts. It was like why do you want to be so mediocre? Like, why would you not want to improve? Most of this stuff, I mean, if you look at, my education in this didn't start until, after college. Mm-hmm. So when you look at a traditional education as far as, training actually like in a gym with clients, training and coaching, didn't start till I was like 22, 23 years old.
Right.
So it's not like I went to college to be, a throws coach. I didn't go to
Right.
college to be a gym owner, but that's sort of where I fell into. So most of my education in this is coming sort
From
of by,
practicality.
yeah, practical. So,
Yeah.
now I'm reading books. I'm constantly reading, constantly learning.
Right.
It's not a hard thing to do. I just don't think a lot of people either have the right means of doing it, or they just don't have an idea of where to look. They might be looking in the wrong spots, So
Yeah. Or they just can't think for themselves.
yeah, exactly. They're doing the same thing they've done for 30 years as a
Yeah,
coach, and
that's it.
it's
Yep.
not it.
Hmm.
But yeah, the whole idea of filling time is crazy.
It's what kills throwing. It absolutely 100% kills high school throwing.
Yep. Just trying to fill her. Like, oh, we're going to be out here for an hour and a half or 2 hours. You know, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you're going to throw. You're going to actually
Yeah.
throw something, throw med balls, throw,
Anything.
old dumbbells, throw anything, throw shot puts, throw whatever,
Yeah.
metal pipes and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So now how are your athletes doing?
Pretty good. I just had um, my one guy that he's going 52-10, so he'll go to indoor states.
Yep.
Actually had 2 huge fouls so far, so I'm looking for him. He's not a big foul, like he doesn't typically foul a lot.
Yep.
So I'm looking for those big fouls to connect in the next couple weeks, and then
Awesome.
my one girl, she just threw 45-4
Awesome.
this weekend. Yeah, she's a junior.
Holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah, what's fucking crazy is that she's throwing 45-4, and she's third in the state. There's a girl at 47-8, and then 47-10, and Jocelyn's third, and then dude, there's like 8 girls all over 41.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
we're seeing that too. We have a girl that just came down this past weekend to work with me on Sunday. She's about an hour and a half north of me, so her dad was like, can we just bring her down? She plays
Right.
softball in the spring. She's
Okay.
a senior. She plays softball in the spring. She's already, I guess, kind of verbally committed to a school to play softball, so she's just kind of riding out her indoor season, so to speak. And she's thrown 41.
Really?
And it's like she didn't start throwing until she was a sophomore, so she's only got 3 indoor seasons. It's like
Oh
where
my goodness.
where are these girls coming from?
Yeah.
Throwing
Yeah,
50 feet in high school, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nuts. It really is.
Well, remember when Laura Garrity threw like 49 or 50, and it was like,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, that's a good toss. Don't get me wrong, but it was like unheard of.
Right.
And now it's like every year there's girls throwing that far.
Yep. Yeah, you always hear about it. Why do you think that is? You think it's just gotten more
I think-
popular with the girls, or?
I think it is more popular. I think there's a bunch of things. I think one, coaches are reaching out to girls more than they had been before because, for whatever reason. And I also just think girls are getting into throwing more that aren't, these huge sloppy chicks. Like, dude, you look at the girls that are throwing far, and they might be bigger girls, but they're athletic, put together, and they, they do really, really well with throwing. And I think that has a big thing to do with it. That they might have been a little too big for basketball, but they're perfect size for throwing.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think this is one thing I got to give CrossFit is that I think we're going to see it even more so that CrossFit has dramatically, and weightlifting has dramatically changed the body image of women.
Right.
Girls are growing up and they can see other female athletes that are jacked, that are put together, that are very muscular, and they see that as like an attractiveness.
Right.
And so, body image is way different now than when you and I grew up. We grew up and it was like you had to look like Cindy Crawford, whereas now you can chicks grow up, and even though Dana Lynn Bailey's sauced out of her mind, like sometimes she's pretty good looking.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's there was always that stigma about girls lifting heavy and they're gonna look like bodybuilders, and
Right.
all this stuff. But you're right. There's been a movement in the past couple of years of the whole strong is the new skinny.
Exactly,
Girls
yeah.
wanting to be defined, girls wanting
And I
to be
think that's going to
athletic.
help throwing a lot.
Yeah, definitely. We're not seeing. It's funny too because we're not. I'm starting to see. It's always been up and down, at least around here. You've never. It's pretty rare to get a high school guy who is just kind of freakishly good. You know, a
Yeah.
girl throwing 45 plus as a junior, like I would equate to a guy throwing close to 60 as a junior.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And
I
I mean,
definitely think so.
you don't see that. You never really see that.
I always say I think 50 feet for chicks is right around like 65 to 66 for guys.
Yeah, I mean
And
you have to be, you know,
legit.
yeah, like top, like cream of the crop top people
Right.
in order to do that.
Yeah.
And now look, we're seeing 45s from high school juniors. I mean, we have
Juniors,
a girl. It's nuts. It really is.
Yeah.
50 would be, I think, like back in the day. I graduated college in 2002, so we're talking, what is that, 13 years ago almost. So you're a 50-footer in college was awesome.
Yeah, they were all American.
Yeah, and I mean now we're seeing 45 to 50 footers in high school. It's amazing.
Well, that's why
how it's
you're
come
gonna
up.
see. Yeah, you're gonna see, dude. I'm convinced in 5 to 8 years, women's shot in the U.S. There's gonna be 10 to 15 chicks throwing 1950,
Shoot.
which is like because it's just gonna happen. There's too many girls throwing too far right now in high school. Like their coaches would have to suck for them not to progress that well.
Right. And we talked about that too, the whole 4 minute mile where people said it wasn't there's no way, it wasn't possible. And then once it happened, everybody else started doing it. So it's sort of the same thing. Now the girls are regularly throwing over 40 feet. It's not impossible anymore for someone to say, well, now I threw 45.
Right.
And then people will start to say, well, I'll throw 45. 45 is not impossible anymore.
Yeah.
And all of a
It's
sudden,
a whole different attitude.
Much different attitude. There's no more limit to what's possible. Which is awesome. Now, how has your training been with your athletes so far? Like, what are you guys doing right now for your season? What does your timeline look like? I guess.
So they have indoor states. It's a Sunday this year. It's like February. Yeah.
Oh.
It's weird. It's like February 18th or somewhere. It's the Sunday after Valentine's Day.
Yeah, ours is that Saturday. I think it's like the 16th. Actually, I got my phone right here. It's like the 16th, something like that.
I think ours is like the 19th or the 20th.
That's crazy.
But ours works out where indoor states is that Sunday, and then the following week is indoor nationals. So it sort of works out. It's my training with them is tough because I have 2 kids that are definitely going to indoor states, and then I have like 3 kids that might be. I have another girl who's right on the cusp. She's throwing like 37-10, and then 2 kids that are in the high 40s, and it's like those 3 that are right on the cusp. I need them to peak before states so that they can try and get there. Whereas Jocelyn and Joe, the 2 that are definitely in, we're actually still sort of training pretty hard. I did just change their shots to their peaking shots, but their training's still pretty intense right now for them. But the other kids, we just like what you had said, we're starting to back off now and doing more reactive based training and trying to get them fired up so that they can really start to tune up their technique in a circle as well, so that they're not as beat up from training.
Yeah, we always run into that, man. Around here, it's just the problem is like right now we've got a girl who is probably gonna go like 41, 42, and then second or one of my girls, I think she's a junior. She just threw mid 35s. So we're hoping she'll get to like
up there.
37-ish range by the time states happen. Probably get second. Maybe if things fall into place the right way, maybe even get first. But the problem is we've got our state championship is that Saturday, February 14th, and then New England's is the 28th.
Yeah, so you got like 2 weeks. It's almost
it's awful.
It's hard to peak somebody.
Yeah, so I mean, what do? Do you do you
We
peak
sort
this
of had
girl,
that.
so to speak, for states, and then just try to
Wins.
hold on for 2 weeks
Yeah.
for New England's? Do you, that's
See,
one of the things that 2 weeks kills us every year.
we would have in college. We would go Big Tens, week off, regionals, and
Mm.
after the week of Big Tens, we would hammer it all the way up till about Thursday. Would be like the last day we'd hammer it,
Yep.
and then we go back and go, like 4 sets of singles on the bench, or 4 sets of singles on power snatch, and that would be like the next 4 to 5 days would be to really, the volume would just plummet, and we'd still hit decent weights until
Yeah.
about 3 or 4 days before the meet for regions, but it wouldn't be, the volume was terribly low, so
Right.
you'd feel pretty good. But it was still difficult to go to a meet like Big Tens and really try and fucking hammer one, and then you got to go to regionals
2 weeks later.
and hope that you can make it to NCAAs, which is then another 2 weeks later. So
Right.
it's like this. It's a really
4 weeks after
like, I was
conference,
middle of the
it's-
pack. I was always on the cusp of making NCAAs, but every time, the year I did make it, I was hosed by the time I went to NCAAs because
Yeah.
you can't hold a peak that long.
No, you can't hold on for 4 extra weeks. That's just
Right.
that's not
And
gonna
you just
happen.
throw then you finish dead last like me.
Ah, shit. Hey, at least you made it. We had our back in the day. We used to have all New Englands because I went to a Division II school.
Yeah.
So we used to have what we called all New Englands in college, and it was just Division 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
It was
I think Ohio does that too.
yeah, Ohio has what the hell do they call it? Something like Valley. I don't even know what the hell it
So
is.
they get everybody in.
Yep.
From the state to compete.
Yeah, so that's why Judd's guys from Ashland Division 2, they would go,
beat up on Ohio State guys.
on Ohio State. Sorry, Ashley, beat up on Ohio State, and yeah, same thing. And it was like, I think I got in by the skin of my teeth. Like I was 18th. It was all Division 1 throwers, and then me in the discus. And it was like, well, I'm 18th, and it's the same day I graduate college.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not going. So at least you made it and were able to go. I made it and was like, I can't go. So look at it. What am I gonna do? But
That's funny.
nah, man. What else do you want to talk about? What else is going on?
I was trying to think that there was a couple questions people were asking us.
That's right.
Of course.
So long ago.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some of them were really good.
Shit. Let me see if I can pull up Facebook on my phone here and
Okay.
kind of try to look back in the archives here because, where is it? All right, let me see if I can somehow go back and find it. Yeah, we had some good questions. People were sending them in, and then we just got so off track with the holidays and being sick and all that other stuff.
I was hoping we could do a podcast when I was at the training center, but then it ended up being I would be training kids 4 hours in the morning, an hour and a half off, and then 4 hours in the afternoon. So it was like, by the time I was done, I was like, dude, I don't want to deal with this.
I don't blame you. All right, let me see here. I don't post too much, so let me see. Let's see. Yeah, we'd have to go back to 2014, so let's see. You guys have this viral bronchitis shit. Oh, wait, hang on. Found it. Well, you know what we can talk about? And this has kind of been a topic that's come up a lot, is masters throwers.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are commenting and have commented and sent emails into me about, it's all well and good, throwing outside in the snow. All well and good if you're 17 years old. What if you're a masters thrower? Injuries, how do you come back from injuries? All well and good. But, what if you're a masters thrower? What if you're an older thrower? Do you ever work
I
with any
think
of the older guys and girls or anything like that?
I have one guy that's almost 60 that's a master's weightlifter and thrower,
Okay.
and he has a decent amount of injuries. He was on the practice squad for the Eagles back in like the early 70s. But he's a really good dude. The big thing is like one, getting him into mobility work, and two, I think they tend to listen to their body a little bit better.
Right.
I've found with them, we'll usually only do one. Well, we do a lot of, like single leg stuff or dumbbell work, so that it's a lot less stress than if you're hammering like real heavy back squats or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that age, it's just like keeping them active and keeping them healthy enough to throw is more important than getting their squat up to 600 pounds.
Right.
So this guy in particular, and I can relate to it because I'm 30 years old, almost 31.
Yep. Dude, I feel you, man. I'm almost 35. It sucks.
Yeah. And it's like I have really bad joint pain from having Lyme disease.
Yep.
And for me, some days I can go out and throw and I feel fine when it's really cold out. And that's when I'll take 20, 30 throws. But there's some days where I feel like a sack of shit. And so it's like, in that case with the Masters guys, I think it's more valuable for them to do weighted drills inside, and they can do a long warm up. They can get in a decent workout, and in between sets of lifting, they could do. They're already warmed up. They're already doing their flexibility stuff. They can do, glide drills or spin drills, depending upon what their technique is, and just keeping that motor pattern ingrained. But they're not going to be killing their body. They're not going to be killing their lower back by finishing the throw. So it's. I think the throwing volume does go down for those guys, and I think it's important for those guys too to get like Roadie's glove, the throws glove, because that'll protect their hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's typically what I'd say is that pick 1 or 2 days out of the week where you really want to go like hard, and then the rest of the week is just maintenance and healthy fitness type stuff to stay healthy for these guys.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I'm glad you touched on it. Is you just have to scale things back a little bit. I think one of the things that I do is that online team training where every Sunday they get their workouts and like their workouts for the week and med ball stuff they can do during the week. And I always get questions from some of the Masters athletes that are on there that's like, well, you say to work up to a heavy set of 3, for example. Like, well, a heavy set of 3 is different for a 18-year-old than a heavy set of 3 would be for a 45-year-old. Like, well, no, heavy's heavy.
Well, no, heavy's heavy. Yeah,
heavy's heavy. I don't expect
like crap that day. It's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, I was supposed to work up last night in my own training to a heavy set of 3 on squats. I got 2 out of 3 on my last set, and I was like, fuck it, I'm done. I walked it in, racked it. That was it. That for me. All right, guys, we are back. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. We had a little issue with FaceTime, but yeah, what were we were saying about the Masters athletes, about how everything's relative. So I think that's as you mentioned, that's the big thing with the Masters guys is everything's relative. So if you're working, I think we were talking about percentages. If you're working on a workout that's a percentage of your 1 rep max or estimated 1 rep max, just a percentage is a percentage. If you're doing 50%, and when you were 18 you could squat 400 pounds, but now you can only squat 200. 50% is still 50%. It's it is what it is. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I'd say for Masters, I would say for them to, if they work off percentages, they've got to be lower. But I actually would tell them not to work on percentages and work off their own feel as an athlete, because they're going to have they're more advanced. So they've been in the sport for a really long time generally.
Right.
So they know what their body feels like on good days and on shitty days.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's better for those athletes to maybe stay away from percentages, or if they are on a percentage, instead of an 18-year-old hitting 85%, a 55 or 60-year-old could be hitting 70 or 75%, and then they could alter it based off of feel.
Right. Yeah, that's it. I mean,
So
you just have to. Well, that's any age that you are. Even if you're,
yeah,
college, if you're, post collegiate, you have to go by feel. You can't just
yeah, because
say, you know,
I'll do that with my guys some days. Let's say, look, we're hitting. This is what I want you to hit. I want you to hit 3 sets of two if they're snatching, 3 sets of two at 120 kilos. But if they hit 2 sets of two and they're ripping the shit out of it, I'm going, dude, we're going to 125 because
yep,
you're looking good. Then they can hit PRs and it's all it's always good for athletes to go off a field because then they get the feedback. Then they start to recognize themselves and they grow as an athlete. Oh, this is what feeling good feels like.
yeah, we do that too.
You know?
We have like planned rep maxes throughout the year. So,
Right.
for example, we'll go. Typically we'll do like a heavy set of 5, which sucks, a heavy set of 3, heavy set of 2. And we'll have different movements that we kind of vary between. So we might do like bench press, floor press. So
Okay.
we've got rep records that are assigned. So we'll say, well, 9 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, your 5 rep floor press was 225 pounds.
Right.
So today, now, whatever it is, 8 weeks, 9 weeks later, well, guess what? We got to do a 5 rep max on floor press again.
With 255.
Right, we're going to go for like 250. But even if the person looks like crap and they get 230 and they're like dying, you know what?
Yeah.
It's still a record. It's still a 5 pound
Yeah.
record, 5 pound PR. You still moved really heavy as you were capable of doing 5 times. So that's
Yep.
it. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of times people put too much into, doing exactly what's in a program,
On the program. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like we're not robots. We're not, these perfectly programmed, perfectly designed machines where, well, I was supposed to get this based on what I did 12 weeks ago. I was supposed to get this today
Yeah.
for 2, and I only got it for 1 and missed the second. And it's like that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
I think that's one of the downfalls of Bunder Chuck's training is that you have to do the same shit every day because his training system is based off of the rhythms of the body and how they're going up, and then they'll react and go down and stuff like that. So you have to do the same stimulus every day, all the time, and it takes a really special type of athlete to be able to do that all the time.
Right.
So a lot of people, if I train my kids like that, I probably wouldn't have any clients. So it's like that's the downfall of it's a really advanced system, but it's not that fun to be in. It's boring as hell, and after 5 weeks, you're like, dude, can we change the program? And that's where, that's what I think. I just wanted to talk about that because it's like that. I remember like the first 3 months being like, holy shit, this is gonna be like really hard mental training, more so than the physical aspect of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we that's one of the reasons why we went more to a conjugate style
It's
of
more
training.
fun.
It's more fun. You're switching up the
Yeah,
exercises a
way more fun.
lot, and as long as you're going hard and you're going heavy
Yeah.
when you're supposed to go heavy and you're going fast when you're supposed to go fast, who cares if you use a front squat, a safety bar squat, or a
Right.
back squat?
Yeah.
You can. We don't take it to the extreme where nowadays, like conjugate style West Side barbell, they'll have you do. You won't repeat a max effort movement for like seemingly 6 months.
Right.
You've got, back squat, to an 18-inch box, to a 17-inch box, to a 16-inch box, wide stance,
Buffalo
barefoot,
bar,
yeah,
yeah.
fucking this bar, that bar. Like we take 3 or 4 movements. Like for me, my bench press is regular, just touch and go bench press,
Right.
floor press, and pause press, like a
Okay.
competition style where you pause, for that half second, press up.
Right.
So we get that a lot where people will come in and, you oftentimes you think like, wow, I hope this person doesn't get bored.
Yeah.
Because we've been doing the same type of squatting or the same type of benching for 3 months in a row. So let's switch it up. And it's like, as long as the stimulus is there, as long as they're pushing hard when they're supposed to push hard, they're going heavy when they're supposed to go heavy, they're going fast when they're supposed to go fast, your body doesn't know. That's
Right. Yeah.
your body doesn't know if it's getting, 200 calories from, grilled chicken breast, or if it's getting 200 calories from, uh, steamed chicken breast. Like, fuck, it doesn't, you know, it's like your car doesn't know if it's using gas from Mobil or if it's using gas from Shell. It's like,
Right.
as long as you're doing the right stuff, you're still going to see a
Right.
response. It doesn't have to be on the money perfect.
Right.
And that's the issue I have with a lot of people that are like, well, I want to peak for March 8th. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, what
Yeah.
have you done the past 12 months?
Yeah.
Well, I
Exactly.
tore my ACL 9 months ago. It's like, well, fucking,
Okay.
I don't know what, we're gonna get you close. Like, it's gonna be better than if we didn't try.
Yeah.
We can get you close, but there's only so much we can do. So no one's perfect, or someone who gets. I had someone who sent me an email today who, got into a car accident and broke his patella,
Uh,
like 9 months ago, 8 months ago, or something like that, and had to get surgically fixed and pins and everything else. And it's like, well, what can we do? We do like quarter squats. That doesn't hurt. Like, how can we peak for the end of the spring? And it's like, I kind of don't know how to help you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, I really
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah.
Um, you
That's
know,
something where feedback from the athlete helps tremendously because you can sit there and be like, what do you feel good doing? What hurts doing this? Which lifts do you think help? So I have that D3 thrower. I have Trevor. He just hurt his groin,
yeah,
and he's probably not going to throw for the next 3 weeks.
yep,
But the good thing is that with an elite kid like that who really can take, can listen to his body and tell you and give you good feedback. That's where it's good to have athletes that really are into progressing their training because then they can say, look, I can't back squat grass. It's killing my groin, or I can't do Cossack squats because
right,
it's hurting my groin. But if I do stiff legged deads with a wider stance, it feels really good, and I think that helps me heal it up. So that's where having athletes with a clue and that are somewhat into training
right.
makes it really enjoyable because then you get good feedback and it makes it easier to peak them. That's one thing I hate is when I'm like, dude, 10th grader, what do you think we do that helps you the most? I don't know. Like,
Right.
give me some feedback
Yeah,
outside
something.
of
Tell me
outside of
something.
just what I see in the weight room and in the throwing circle. Give me your own mental feedback so that I can take it and run with it for setting up your plan to get you to throw farther.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You need that feedback, and that's a lot of times, as you said, that's where masters throwers who have been doing it for a long time,
yeah, they have a better
such a better understanding of what feels good and what doesn't feel good.
right.
Like we have some kids in the gym who are phenomenal athletes, and when they use the glute ham raise machine, um, it just kills them. They're like, "Fuck! Oh, my hand
Yeah,
is killing me." Da, 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 da. Like I have exercises like you mentioned a stiff-legged deadlift. Stiff-legged deadlifts kill me. I mean, they hurt like hell,
yeah,
and to the point where it's
yeah,
like, you know what? I just don't program those anymore.
yeah,
So you've got to listen to yourself and listen to your body. So for the masters throwers out there that are watching and that we're sending in the questions, I guess the real answer to you is that it really depends, and you just have to go by what you're feeling
how you
that day.
feel,
Yeah.
right.
Um,
I want to say this too about when I was at the training center, I got to talk to the head coach Zygmunt
yeah.
about he's close friends with the Polish throws coach, who's the coach for Majewski, and maybe he works with Malachowski. I don't know,
Yeah.
but he had said Majewski's been to the OTC in Colorado Springs because his coach wanted to see Zygmunt, and then he goes to Chula Vista for a month out of every year.
Hmm.
And he said that they got to the point where now Majewski will do front or behind the neck jerks, heavy bench or heavy incline, and then speed deadlifts or cleans, and that's like all he does.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the thing is that you can get to that point as an elite athlete, and you can pick 5 to 10 exercises that you really feel are valuable.
Yep.
And you can pick and rotate them. And, with 10 exercises, you can really set up a long training cycle where you won't repeat certain combinations of lifts, and you can really progress your training and by just monitoring those 5 to 10 lifts and how you're feeling with certain shots in the circle. And I think that's one thing I don't like about American college coaches is that they have a never-ending resource of money. They have these really nice shot area, indoor area, and they have all these things at their disposal. And they think they have to use every resource. We've got to do all these different exercises, but then they forget. Then they sort of lose track of where their athletes are and how their athletes are progressing because they don't have those benchmark 5 rep max on floor bench or 5 rep max on normal bench. They don't have benchmarks to actually see if the guys are progressing, one in the weight room, but most importantly in the shot circle.
Yep. We get that a lot with the overweight and underweight shots where, I'll have an athlete who, we've got a few athletes that have coaches at their schools but no like weight room. So they go from their practice with their coach and then they come in and work out in the gym. And I always ask them, I say, trying to get the feedback. What did you do today? What did you guys do in the circle? Did you do any type of jumps or throws or just so I know how to adjust my program so they're not dying? And a lot of times people will say, oh, we did overweight shots today.
Yeah.
And I'll say, why? Why did you, is that something that, did the coach explain why? No. All right. And then a few weeks later, we worked with a 10-pound shot and a 5K shot. And I say, all right, why? Have you done? And well, no. And it's the thing. It's like people just think that, I think it's that way too with a lot of football coaches.
Throw shit against. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Where they're like, all right, we have to do cleans today.
Yeah.
And it's like, this kid can barely pull like a deadlift of 135, keeping his back flat, and you want him to clean today? Yeah, everyone cleans, so we have to clean.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't. You don't have to do that.
God damn it.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
All
Somebody's calling me.
That's all right. Yeah, the same thing happened to me. Someone tried calling in earlier, so. But yeah, it seems like people are, they'll either see shit on YouTube or they'll see shit on Facebook or whatever it is and say, wow, that looks cool. I'm going to put that in my program. But you need to know why.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think we've talked about this before. It's like you have 2 or 3 basic principles in your program and you have exercises that you can slip into like priority 1. Exercises that you see and you can tell, okay, we're going to slip that into this group 2 of exercise or, this goes into group 3. But that's all you need to do. It doesn't need to be hard, but these guys take it and it's like they're throwing shit against the wall and trying to piece it back together.
Right.
It's like, dude, make it simple. Make your program simple so that it's easy to interchange things and you know what type of, like this exercise really taxes my nervous system, so that should go in the beginning. Or this exercise is technical, it should go in the beginning.
Right.
Or this exercise is a mobility thing. Well, that could go at the end of your workout, but
yeah.
I don't know. They don't think that way.
Yeah, I guess not. The best, I think we did talk about this before, but Chad Wesley Smith, I don't know if you've ever seen any of his stuff.
Yeah.
Wrote about that one time that Andrei Milanichev there, the power lifter, he's at the peak of the mountain. He's at the top of the mountain. When you get to the top of the mountain, there's only certain exercises, or there's only room for a certain amount of exercises.
Yeah.
Andrei Milanichev, who's, say, I don't even know his numbers, but say he squats, 450 kilos.
Right.
Him doing a split squat holding, 45-pound dumbbells, it's not going to do anything for him. Getting these, he needs to work with exactly what he's going to be doing. So, his squat training is squatting. His bench training is benching. His deadlift training is deadlifts. And small little variations of those things. Simple, basic, but he's got the background and he's got the history of doing all those other exercises to give him that base. People, I think, are way too intent on having everything perfect. You
Yeah.
know, we get that all the time, and even the athletes who have trained with me for a couple years, say for example, an exercise that we're doing is a bent over row, something basic, bent over dumbbell row,
Right.
or I'll say bent over one arm bent over row,
Right.
and they'll say, do I use a dumbbell or a kettlebell? And you're like, it don't matter,
Do,
just fucking
yeah.
get
Just fucking
something
do.
and do it,
Yeah.
or pull ups. Do you want like a regular grip, a wide grip? Just do pull
Just
ups.
fucking pull up. Yeah.
Just pull ups. Like
Yep.
don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. A lot of strength coaches I think can really take a lot from that and just make it basic and simple. And the more basic and simple it is, the easier it is for you to track it.
Yeah.
So you can look back and say, maybe it will be a little bit boring, but you can look back and say, 2 weeks ago we had you do pull-ups. How many pull-ups could you do unassisted? Well,
Right.
I did, my first set I did 6 pull-ups. My second set I did 5, and my third set I could only get 3, and then I had to use a band. All right, well this week try to get, instead of 6, 5, 3, try to get, 8,
8.
7, 5.
Yeah.
Try
Yeah.
to
Exactly.
improve. But imagine going up to a high school kid and saying, all right, we did pull-ups, wide grip pull-ups with a small band.
With a 3-second eccentric portion of the lift.
for 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So whatever you did back then, try to beat it by 1 or 2 reps today. They're gonna be like, I don't remember. They don't remember what they had for lunch yesterday.
Right.
And they're like, you want me to think 8 weeks ago when we did this one egg? Keep it simple, keep it basic. That way you can track it and know if you're improving.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No,
It drives me a little bit nuts. We hear that all the time from the kids, and it's like, just do it. Just work on the basics. Make it simple. Make it trackable. Make it easy to understand. Basic is a lot of times going to be a lot better than an overly complicated, difficult thing to do.
Right.
Throwing's
Absolutely.
the same way.
Yeah.
I think the working form and technique. A lot of people get too much into overweight versus underweight shots,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
we get those questions a lot too. I'm sure of what
Well,
time
they'll
of the
go-
year should I do this?
Right, and you'll say, they'll go every week they're changing the weights, and it's like, dude, like, you can't change weight every week because you're
Right.
never going to adapt to that weight. You've got
Right.
to feel like get your technical aspects that you want to fix down with that heavy shot or light shot, so that you can fix it.
Right.
And then once you adapt, use the adaptation period for a little while, and then switch it in 3 or 4 weeks. But you got to give it time to imprint on the technique.
Right.
And what we were saying about keeping it simple. It's like, dude, you look at kids throwing. Some kids will throw and their left leg will block them off their right-handed thrower, and they're throwing down the right sector line. Here's an easy fix. Get the kids. They can do half-turn non-reverses or full non-reverses, and they've got to think. Get the left leg to the corner, like pinch your butt cheek to get your left foot down, and then on the non-reverse, rotate all the way around at the front. So
Yep.
you're not, you're not finishing too early. You're finishing long with a really long strike on the shot, and in 3 or 4 sessions, they're going to fix that finish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not rocket science. It's something simple that can fix it, but it just needs the reps and it needs that hard work
Yep.
for it to be fixed.
That's my strategy every Sunday when my athletes throw. This is what we worked on today.
Mm-hmm.
Work on that for the rest of the week, and then
we'll see next week.
when you come back next week, that shit looks make it look perfect,
Right.
and then we'll move
Yeah.
on to something else.
Yeah.
That's again going along with that idea of changing stuff up too much. You get the athletes who are, well, yesterday I was trying to fix this, and today
Yeah.
I'm going to try to fix something different, and then
Right.
all of a sudden you have 5,
It's
6
7
things,
things.
and nothing
Yeah.
gets fixed. Nothing is really being fixed or really being corrected because you're trying to be 5, 6 different places at once.
Yeah.
Your body's got to adapt. You've got to be able to learn.
And I don't know how I can tie this into this discussion, but for some reason I was thinking about this. I went on a rant when I went out to Colorado Springs about mental training with throwing.
Yep.
And with most sports. And one thing that I think is frustrating is that So dad will say, I want my kid to really get this mental training going, and it's like, well, that's fine. You want to take your kid to this, mental guru, and they're going to take them through all these drills.
Right.
But your kid shows up to train, and they're out in space. They're laughing. They're joking around. They're not focused on what they're doing. They're not focused on improving their technique. So all that shit that they do for their competitions is all well and good. It might help them compete a little bit better, but they're not applying that mental focus and mental acuity to everyday training and fixing those technical parts. If they're more focused mentally during training on a regular basis, they tend to improve faster, and they probably won't need that mental guru for the competition, because they'll already have that in their mind. Like, every day is a small competition to improve my technique, improve my distance or whatever, and just improve feeling of the throw. So that was one thing I wanted to sort of talk about, because it was something that sort of pissed me off.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean about the whole mental training, mental toughness, and
Yeah.
it gets to the point where it's like, again, along the same lines, if you only work on that, and this is one of the things we do a newsletter every week at the gym.
Okay.
There's 168 hours in a week.
Right.
If you just practice that mental toughness for a half an hour when you're meeting with, Mr.
Some guy who's never thrown a shot or lifted a fucking weight in his life.
Right, exactly. You're meeting with some specialist who's going to make you mentally tougher and, make you better when it comes time to compete. What are you doing the other 167 hours during the week?
Right.
Are you actually doing that? What about when you're out at practice? You're out of practice 2 hours a day. So it's 10 hours a week you're outside of practice, and all of a sudden that extra half an hour, 10 hours of goofing off is somehow going to be, combated
Negated
by this.
by a half hour.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you just have to learn how to compete, and you do that by competing against yourself every single day.
Yeah, exactly. Doing that and showing up on time to training, showing up ready to train, showing up mentally prepared to train and focus that every single rep is gonna make you a better thrower.
Right.
Either through because that rep sucks, or because it felt really good and something clicked, and it's like, that's the mental training that people aren't recognizing, and that's the stuff that, if you do keep it simple, and you can take every single rep and dive deep down inside, and that was one thing that I ran it on, is that training with guys like Rody, dude, you can see he takes every single rep like it's his last throw.
Yep.
It's like, at this rep I'm gonna work on. You can hear him saying stuff to himself going into the circle, and I've talked to Glenn Thompson about Ryan Whiting, and he said, dude, Ryan, every single training session, he has like a journal that he writes down how he felt, everything.
Yep.
Those little things they're simple, but they're very, very practical for improving the throws, improving the technical aspect, improving your feeling in the circle, improving, even just your motivation, because that keeps you more motivated.
Right.
If you're freaking screwing off all the time, eventually you're going to get to the point like, well, why am I screwing off here? I can go to the playground and screw off.
Right. And then you just lose it. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I could go off on a whole fucking rant about that. These coaches and stuff like that, where it's, games at practice, and, just, not that you've got to be a mean, grumpy old bastard to be a coach.
No, you don't. You can screw up, but you still have to take the reps seriously.
Right. You have to have a focus when you get in that circle and take shit seriously. I grew up in, kind of rural, so I always think of, like, I belong to sort of an outdoorsman's club, like a hunting club, shooting club.
Yeah, gun club.
Gun club. And I was trying to think of a politically correct way of saying it, but fuck it, it's a gun club, but we have shooting ranges. And you see the guys who, like myself, who get there and have a rifle or a handgun or whatever, and I just, obviously I'm aiming for the target, but I'm just fucking pulling the trigger. Boom, 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 boom. And then you've got guys who are in the military, or they were in state police, or they were in local police, and for every, 5 of my shots, they take 1. Everything is just like precise.
Precise and perfectionist.
Perfectionist. They get in, and then we all walk out to get our targets, and I took 25 shots, and the shit is like, huge spread. There's only like 18 holes in the paper, and then these guys take like 5 shots, and they're all this little tiny ass grouping, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, those guys are experts. Those guys are focused.
Yeah.
They're out here. It's a career. It's a job for them.
Yep.
For me, it's fun. I just like to go out and plink targets and whatnot. But
right.
For them,
it's a hobby. And that's what you just said is what when I was at the training center that I saw. I'm sitting there going, dude, there was a 14-year-old kid that snatched 260 pounds and he snatched 118 kilos.
That's not
right. And
right.
he weighs 75 kilos. He's a freak. He's a freak. And he actually grew up powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting, so he's a really unique background. But I'm sitting there looking at him. He's 14 years old. He's a freshman. He has 4 AP classes. He's just like a genius, but also an athletic genius.
Right.
And you're sitting there going, dude, I'm watching this 14-year-old, and he's training like he's 22 years old, like he's going to the Olympics in 2 months.
Yep.
And then I start sitting there, and I'm like, I almost got depressed. I'm like, dude, I gotta get my guys to like get a fucking clue.
Right.
And not that, most of the kids that you and I both train have their shit together for the most part. But there's still more that you can get out of them, and seeing that level of focus in very young athletes, that makes you know, like, dude, that can happen. You can get those kids to be focused, and you can get them to be, they can be focused on their weightlifting, focused on their shot circles, on throwing in the disc, on their test while they're taking it at school. Like, every little thing in your life can have a good implication towards your training. It's just, then as a coach, you and I have to figure out, how can we get that out of those types of kids,
Yeah, how can we pull that out and get them to understand that? Because
how can we get them off their fucking phones?
Oh, shit, that's it, man. Dude, I was thinking about getting like a lockbox and just telling everyone put their phones in their lockbox. Like, no one really has the balls to go over in the middle of a workout and check their phone or anything like that. But it's like, I always think the first person that goes over in the middle of a workout and pulls out their phone and is just like,
dude, I have that happen.
Smash it.
I have girls that'll cry when I take their phone. Like, they'll just sit there and cry, and then their parents almost get mad at me. And I'm like, dude, you're paying me to train them. Like,
yeah.
I might have said this to you before, but I always wanted to get one of those old phone booths and put it in the corner of the gym, and for you to go look at your phone, you had to go in the old phone booth.
Close it up. Yeah, but no one knows. No one knows what a phone booth is anymore. They'll be like, what the hell is that? Fucking crazy. All right, hey man, why don't we call it right here, because I know we've been talking for a while and got some good questions answered. But
yeah, we gotta I'll write down more shit so we're more organized next week.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do this again next week. We'll get back on track to doing these once a week. But again, for anybody out there watching, send in questions. Leave them underneath this YouTube video. Email them to me. Email them to Dane. Facebook. There's plenty of ways that you can get in touch with us. So
yeah,
definitely. Let us know any questions you might have, especially now that we're getting toward the end of the winter season. And yeah, man, we'll talk to you soon. Anything special coming up with you? You got any camps or any clinics or anything?
Throwing wise, we got to meet tomorrow.
Yep.
Nothing too crazy. One of the guys I sponsor, Nick Batts.
Yeah.
He threw 1857. I think he's going to Findlay next week, so he's got a big meet next week. But
Awesome.
Other than that, there's not too much. Just little high school meets going on.
Status
I got a
quo.
weightlifting meet this weekend with some kids, but
beautiful.
That's nothing big until we talked about with states, middle of February.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, let's call it right there. Here we go. I don't even know what episode this is, man. This is episode.
I think this is 4 or 5.
I think this might be 5.
Okay.
I'll have to double check, but yeah, man, great stuff. We'll touch base next week, and I'm just gonna stop the recording.